Today, we're going to delve into a topic that, unfortunately, is quite prevalent in the everyday lives of many people: manipulation. It reveals how individuals or organizations use subtle tactics to gain control and advantage over others through mental manipulation. Manipulation can occur in various spheres of life, whether in personal relationships, the workplace, or even within large groups. Understanding and reflecting on these tactics is not just a way to protect one's own autonomy but also to promote healthier and more transparent relationships. It is essential to learn how to defend oneself, and for this purpose, we will explore the most intense manipulation tactics. Remember, all knowledge is neutral as it depends on the user to assign it a function. Therefore, remember that these dark tactics, and the purpose of this video is to alert you on how to protect yourself from them. The content is for you to learn to protect yourself and not use them against others. This knowledge is like a tool that can be used both to create a magnificent work and to commit evil. Therefore, all the knowledge you absorb in this video must be used responsibly, whether for your self-defense or personal development. We'll understand how manipulation silently infiltrates our lives, often without us realizing. We'll demystify these techniques not just to recognize them but also to arm ourselves with the necessary tools to combat them. By the end, I guarantee you will be better prepared to face the world with a more critical eye and a more alert mind. Here is the darkest of manipulation tactics. Before we begin, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot and costs nothing. Let's start. Number 1. Triangulation. This is a subtle yet powerful manipulation tactic that involves introducing a third person into a dynamic relationship to create division, tension, or confusion. The manipulator uses this third person as a tool to exert control, destabilize the existing relationship, or divert attention from their own questionable actions. In triangulation, the manipulator may pit individuals against each other by sharing distorted or confidential information among the parties or using the third person to validate their own opinions and feelings, discrediting the other party. This can lead victims to doubt their own perceptions and feelings, isolating them and making them more dependent on the manipulator. For example, in a family context, a parent might speak poorly of one child to another, creating an alliance with the second child and leaving the first isolated and insecure. At the workplace, a boss might share negative information about one employee with another, generating rivalry and distrust among them. Triangulation is particularly destructive because it corrupts trust and direct communication between the involved parties, allowing the manipulator to maintain control and avoid responsibility for conflicts or misunderstandings. Victims of this tactic often find themselves in a cycle of misunderstandings and conflicts without fully understanding the origin or the manipulator's role in these problems. Combating triangulation requires recognizing the tactic, open and honest communication between the parties being manipulated, and a strong sense of personal boundaries. It's crucial to question the validity of the information received, seek clarifications directly with the other involved parties, and refuse to engage in conversations or actions that promote division or distrust. Number 2. Double bind. This is a situation of psychological manipulation where the person is placed between two contradictory choices or conflicting messages, so that regardless of the decision made, she will be wrong or at least at a disadvantage. This tactic is often used to confuse and control the victim, making her feel powerless, confused, and anxious, as there is no correct or satisfying way out of these situations. The manipulator may communicate mutually exclusive expectations or demands. For instance, a parent might criticize a child for not being open and communicative, but when the child tries to express their feelings, they are scolded for being disrespectful or overly sensitive. In this example, the child is put in a difficult situation because if they open up, they will be punished, and if they remain silent, they will also be criticized. Double bind can also occur in relationships where one person might tell their partner they want more independence but then becomes upset or distant when the partner spends time alone. The victim of this manipulation becomes confused and insecure about how to act since all their actions seem to result in a negative response. This type of manipulation is particularly insidious because it attacks the person's ability to trust in their own perception. This can lead to a state of constant doubt and reduced self-esteem, making the person more dependent on the manipulator. To deal with a double bind, it's important to recognize that the situation is a manipulation trap and not a reflection of one's own incompetence or failure. Seeking support from trusted friends, counselors, or therapists can help the victim validate their own perceptions and feelings. Furthermore, setting clear boundaries and communicating assertively are crucial steps to protect oneself against this type of manipulation. Number 3. Projection. Projection is a manipulation tactic where the manipulator attributes their own faults, feelings, or inappropriate intentions to the victim. Join our Stoicist journey at Buy Me a Coffee. Support with a donation or as a member and have a voice in our community. Every coffee fuels our mission to share wisdom. Be our pillar, make a difference today. This occurs when the manipulator is unable or unwilling to acknowledge their own shortcomings or negative behaviors and instead projects them onto another person, making them feel guilty or in doubt about their own actions or feelings. This defense mechanism distorts the victim's reality, leading them to question their own perceptions and feel responsible for problems or feelings that belong to the manipulator. For example, a jealous partner might accuse the other of being unfaithful or flirting when, in reality, it is the accuser who is having those thoughts or behaviors. Projection allows the manipulator to divert attention from their own faults and transfer responsibility to the victim, often making them feel defensive, confused, or guilty without reason. This can weaken the victim's self-esteem and increase their emotional dependence on the manipulator. Confronting projection requires the victim to maintain a strong sense of their own reality and boundaries. It's important for the person to recognize when they are being targeted by this tactic and not to internalize the unfounded accusations. Keeping a record of their own thoughts and feelings, seeking feedback from trusted third parties, and practicing self-affirmation are useful strategies to combat manipulation through projection. Moreover, it's crucial for the victim to learn to emotionally distance themselves from the manipulator and to establish clear boundaries, refusing to accept responsibility for problems or feelings that are not theirs. In extreme cases, it may be necessary to cut ties or seek professional support to deal with the consequences of this form of manipulation. Number 4. Time pressure. This manipulation tactic is used to force the victim into making quick decisions by creating a false sense of urgency. The manipulator claims that actions must be taken immediately to avoid negative consequences or that a one-time opportunity is about to expire. This method exploits the fear of loss and anxiety, reducing the time the victim has to think, research, or seek other opinions. For instance, this strategy is often used in high-pressure sales scenarios where the salesperson insists that an offer is for a limited time only or that only a few slots are left. However, it can also be found in personal and professional relationships, such as when someone demands an immediate response to a significant request or imposes an unrealistic deadline for an important decision. Under time pressure, the manipulated individual may end up making hasty decisions, often to their detriment and the manipulator's benefit. The artificial urgency prevents the victim from evaluating all options, consulting third parties, or simply listening to their own intuition. To combat this tactic, it's crucial to recognize when someone is trying to manipulate time to influence your decision. It's important to ask for time to think, not to succumb to the pressure to act immediately, and remember that few decisions genuinely require an instantaneous response. Additionally, be aware that time pressure is a red flag for manipulation and that often, by waiting, additional information may emerge that will help make a more informed and balanced decision. Number 5. Inconsistency and unpredictability. This is a manipulation tactic where the manipulator acts erratically and unpredictably, causing confusion and insecurity in the victim. This behavior can range from extremes such as being loving and attentive one moment and cold or disdainful the next, for no apparent reason. This pattern of behavior keeps the victim in a constant state of disorientation and anxiety, as they cannot predict or understand the manipulator's actions. This tactic is often used in abusive relationships where the abuser alternates between kindness and cruelty to create an emotionally unstable environment. The victim, trying to understand the manipulator's behavior and longing for approval or love, may find themselves trapped in a cycle of trying to please the manipulator, never achieving stability or satisfaction. Unpredictability is effective because it capitalizes on the human desire for consistency and stability. When a person's actions do not follow a logical or predictable pattern, it becomes difficult for others to adapt or respond appropriately, which can lead to a state of emotional and psychological dependence on the manipulator, who seems to be the only source of solution or relief. To deal with inconsistency and unpredictability, it's important for the victim to recognize the manipulator's behavior pattern and understand that it's not their responsibility to constantly fix or adapt to please the other. It's vital to establish clear boundaries and maintain emotional distance from the manipulator. Additionally, seeking support from friends, family, or professionals can provide the necessary perspective and support to deal with this form of manipulation and rebuild self-esteem. Number 6. Emotional blackmail. Here, the manipulator exploits another person's emotions to get what they want, often creating a sense of obligation, fear, guilt, or shame in the target, leading them to act against their own interests or values to satisfy the manipulator's demands. At the heart of emotional blackmail is the abuse of the emotional bond between the parties. The manipulator may suggest, directly or indirectly, that their well-being, happiness, or love depends on the victim's action, creating a situation where the victim feels responsible for the manipulator's emotional state. Common examples of emotional blackmail include statements like, "If you really loved me, you would do this," or "I can't believe you would let me do this alone." These statements not only impose a false sense of duty but also instill fear of loss or guilt for not meeting expectations. To deal with emotional blackmail, it's important to recognize when it's happening, establish and maintain clear boundaries, and communicate assertively. This involves expressing your own needs and feelings without allowing fear, guilt, or obligation to dictate your actions. Reinforcing self-esteem and seeking external support, whether from friends, family, or professionals, can also be crucial to withstand the pressure and maintain your own agency. Number 7. Gaslighting. The manipulator can vehemently deny that certain events occurred or distort facts to contradict the victim's memory. They may also devalue the victim's feelings, labeling their reactions as crazy or irrational, or use privileged information to discredit them. This leads the victim to constant self-evaluation and the search for external validation. This form of manipulation can occur in personal actions, the workplace, or broader contexts like politics or the media. The impact of gaslighting is profound, leading to anxiety, depression, and loss of trust in one's perceptions and memories. Combating gaslighting involves strengthening confidence in oneself and one's perceptions, which may include keeping a record of events or conversations, seeking external perspectives to validate reality, and establishing firm boundaries with the manipulator. In severe cases, it may be necessary to withdraw from the toxic situation. Recognizing and naming the experience is also crucial as it empowers the victim and diminishes the manipulator's control. Number 8. False social proof. This is a manipulation technique where the manipulator pretends or exaggerates the level of agreement, support, or approval from others to influence the victim. In this context, the manipulator may fabricate stories, distort facts, or create an illusion of consensus to convince the victim that a certain opinion, behavior, or product is more popular or acceptable than it truly is. This tactic exploits the human tendency to conform to group norms and seek social approval. People tend to modify their opinions, attitudes, or behaviors to align with what they consider the group consensus, especially in situations of uncertainty or when there is evident social pressure. By simulating widespread acceptance or support, the manipulator can induce the victim to think that by following a certain course of action, they are joining the majority and, therefore, making the correct or popular choice. For instance, in advertising, this can be seen in the use of testimonials from satisfied customers that are not genuine or in claiming a product is the best-selling without concrete evidence. In personal relationships, a manipulator might falsely claim that everyone thinks or says something to pressure the victim to agree or conform. To defend against false social proof, it's crucial to develop critical thinking and question the truthfulness of claims of popularity or acceptance. It's important to seek concrete, reliable evidence before accepting claims of consensus and maintain confidence in one's perceptions and judgments, even if that means opposing the supposed majority. Recognizing and understanding this manipulation tactic allows people to make more authentic choices and less influenced by the pressure to conform to fictitious or exaggerated social norms. In summary, don't be swayed by the opinions and actions of others, follow your own path day by day, and you will have a fortified mind. Number 9. Information concealment. Information concealment is a manipulation strategy where one party deliberately withholds important or relevant information from another party with the goal of influencing decisions or perceptions. This manipulation method can significantly alter the victim's understanding and behavior as they are led to make decisions based on an incomplete or distorted reality. This type of manipulation can occur in various contexts, from personal relationships to business transactions and politics. For example, in a relationship, a partner may hide information about their finances or past relationships, affecting trust and relationship dynamics. At work, a colleague or supervisor may omit critical details of a project, impairing an employee's ability to complete tasks efficiently or make informed decisions. In sales or negotiations, concealing information about the product, such as defects or unfavorable conditions, can lead to a deceived choice by the consumer or the other negotiating party. In the political sphere, the concealment of information can be used to manipulate public opinion and influence decisions. To combat information concealment, it is crucial to develop a critical mindset and question whether all relevant information has been provided. It is important to seek transparency and demand full details before making significant decisions. Additionally, keeping records and documentation is a useful practice to ensure that all information is considered. Recognizing and rejecting attempts at manipulation through information concealment is essential to protect autonomy and make informed decisions. Number 10. Fear attachment. Manipulators who use fear attachment typically create a life-or-death scenario, making the victim believe that something terrible will happen if they do not comply. This can range from direct threats to subtle insinuations or the creation of negative hypothetical scenarios. The goal is to make the victim feel they have no choice but to obey or agree with the manipulator to avoid the feared outcome. This technique can be observed in many contexts, including personal relationships, workplaces, marketing, and even politics. To defend against fear attachment, it is important to recognize when fear is being used as a manipulation tool. This may involve objectively questioning the reality of the presented threats, evaluating one's own options, and seeking advice or alternative perspectives. Maintaining calm and not acting impulsively under the influence of fear is also crucial, as is strengthening self-esteem and support networks to reduce vulnerability to fear-based manipulation. Developing a clear understanding of one's own boundaries and rights can help resist manipulation attempts. Moreover, exploring fear and learning coping and resilience techniques can help deal with fear healthily and assertively, reducing the impact that the manipulator can have on the victim's emotions and decisions. Number 11. Blame game. The blame game is a common manipulation strategy where the manipulator attempts to shift responsibility for their own mistakes, failures, or behavior onto the victim. This tactic aims to make the victim feel guilty, even if they have done nothing wrong, leading them to doubt themselves, apologize excessively, and even take on responsibilities that are not theirs. Manipulators use the blame game to divert attention from their own inappropriate actions, maintaining control and avoiding the consequences of their actions. By making the victim feel responsible for problems or negative situations, the manipulator can maintain a position of power and influence, weakening the victim's self-esteem and assertiveness. This technique can be observed in various contexts, such as abusive relationships, workplaces, or dysfunctional family dynamics. For example, in a relationship, a manipulative partner may blame the other for their jealous or irrational behavior, claiming it's the victim's behavior that provokes this reaction. At work, a colleague or supervisor may attribute the failure of a project to the victim, even when the responsibility is shared or entirely the manipulator's. To defend against the blame game, it's crucial to maintain a clear sense of reality and not accept blame for things outside one's control or clearly someone else's responsibility. Strengthening self-awareness and esteem helps recognize and reject unjust assignments of blame. Keeping a record of events and conversations can be helpful to contest false accusations and maintain an objective perspective. Moreover, it's important to set clear boundaries with the manipulator and communicate assertively that the attempt to shift blame is unacceptable. Seeking support from friends, family, or professionals can also provide validation and perspective, helping the victim break free from the cycle of blame imposed by the manipulator. Number 12. False praise. False praise is a manipulation technique where the manipulator uses insincere compliments to influence and control the victim, either in anticipation of a request or to distract them from hidden intentions. Skilled manipulators use compliments to create a positive atmosphere and a false sense of security. When a person feels valued or praised, they are more likely to want to reciprocate the favor or maintain the positive feeling, making them more susceptible to influence. The compliments can be directed at appearance, skills, intelligence, or any other attribute of the victim. However, false praise differs from genuine compliments in its intention. While a sincere compliment is motivated by the desire to express admiration or appreciation without expectation of return, false compliments aim to manipulate or extract something from the praised individual. The manipulator may not believe in what they are saying but understands that positive words can be a powerful tool for controlling or influencing someone's behavior. To protect against false praise, it's important to develop the ability to discern the sincerity of compliments received. Observing the behavior pattern of the one praising, the context in which the compliments are made, and the congruence between the individual's words and actions can help determine if the compliments are genuine or not. Additionally, maintaining healthy self-esteem and not relying on external validation allows a person to accept compliments without being unduly influenced by them. Number 13. Victimization. Victimization is a manipulation tactic where the manipulator presents themselves as a victim of unfair circumstances, other people, or events beyond their control. This strategy is used to gain sympathy, avoid responsibility for their actions, and influence the behavior of others in their favor. By portraying themselves as victims, manipulators seek to evoke compassion and induce others to make concessions, offer help, or modify their expectations and behaviors towards the manipulator. This type of manipulation can be particularly effective because it appeals to the natural human instinct to help and protect those who are suffering or disadvantaged. However, rather than being a true expression of suffering, victimization is calculated to achieve specific objectives, such as diverting attention from inappropriate behaviors, controlling people, or obtaining resources and benefits. Additionally, victimization can be used to reverse the roles of guilty and victim, especially after the manipulator has made a mistake or harmed someone. By portraying themselves as the real victim, the manipulator tries to avoid the consequences of their actions and may even make the real victim feel guilty and apologize. To protect against manipulation by victimization, it's important to maintain a balance between empathy and objectivity. Recognizing when someone is going through a genuinely difficult time is important, but it's also crucial to critically assess the situation, especially if patterns of victimization begin to emerge. Establishing clear boundaries and maintaining a balanced perspective on the responsibilities and actions of each individual involved are useful. Number 14. Intentional silence. Intentional silence refers to the deliberate use of silence or refusal to communicate as a means to exert control, power, or punishment over someone. This form of manipulation, also known as the silent treatment, can be extremely damaging as it invalidates the victim's emotional expression and creates an environment of uncertainty, anxiety, and isolation. In this tactic, the manipulator refuses to respond to attempts at communication, ignoring messages, calls, or direct attempts at dialogue. This can leave the victim feeling rejected, insecure, and desperate for a resolution or explanation. The manipulator's goal is to make the victim question their own feelings and behaviors, leading them to take the blame for the silence and often make concessions or apologize even when they are not at fault. Intentional silence can be used as a powerful weapon because it capitalizes on the human need for communication and validation. Without feedback or communication, the receiving person can feel devalued and invisible, which can significantly deteriorate their self-esteem and emotional well-being. To deal with silence tactics, it's important for the victim to recognize that this is a form of emotional manipulation and not a reflection of their own worth or guilt. Maintaining one's integrity, seeking external support, and clearly communicating one's feelings without begging for attention are important steps. Additionally, establishing clear boundaries and, if necessary, re-evaluating the value and viability of the relationship with the manipulator are essential to protect one's own emotional well-being.